Every day we get questions about the ranch, from comments, emails, and on Facebook. Sometimes we get the same question over and over. Today, we answer some of the most popular questions on our Wyoming Life. Every day around here starts out pretty much the same. Well, most days. Yesterday, starting with me trying to make coffee and Mackenzie looking out the window and hollering, "There's cows out!" She's a bit dramatic. There were actually 3 calves that had slipped out of their corral. Took me a total of about a minute and a half to get them back in there. And the crisis of the renegade calves was averted. So aside from days where we have a gang of calves running amok, most days start out pretty much the same. I get up, I grab coffee, and I usually check the computer to see what messages that we've gotten overnight. The overnight questions, well, a lot of times they come from overseas, and they can be very interesting at times. I love to answer them though, so I try to get that done before I head out to feed or take care of animals. This morning, we have to bring in a cow that's developed a limp over the last couple of days. It's pretty bad, and I feel sorry for her having to walk out to food every day. I'm not sure if she slipped and fell or what, but whatever happened, we're going to bring her in and we're going to do what we can for her. Then we'll put her in a corral with some food and water so she doesn't have to further injure herself walking up and down the pastures. So while we're out working, my phone just keeps on dinging and vibrating with more messages and emails. Can't do anything about it, but I hear it. I love answering them, but sometimes the work comes first. So now that we have her in the corral, she needs a break. I'm sure she's hurting, and we're going to bring her into the barn and get her some medical attention. But for right now, she can rest, and we can answer a couple emails. So how big is the ranch? This is one that I get probably every day, if not more. My usual answer is about 5,000 acres. Kind of general, but not in a bad way. At least I don't think. When Erin and I first came to the ranch, no, we weren't raised ranchers. We actually came here, and when her stepdad got sick, and soon after he passed away. So here we are. Anyway, when we first came here, I remember asking a few ranchers that exact same question. How many acres do you have? I also remember them looking at me and usually walking away. I was a greenhorn. Probably still am. But I quickly learned that a question like that is considered in bad taste, at least in Wyoming. Gilbert, my father-in-law, explained it to me best when he said, "I wouldn't walk up to you and ask you how much money you have in the bank or how much you make per year." Now, I'm not chewing anybody's butt, but if you're gonna be a ranch hand, you gotta learn to talk like one. That's why I don't mind answering the question. But I don't say 7,458 acres. I just say around 5,000, and I leave it at that. All right, let's move her up into the barn. She's had some time to chill, and now it's gonna be into the head chute for her. The head chute is just like the chute that you've seen us using during preg checking, except it's just the head part, no squeeze portion. This device is there just to catch her and hold her in place. Lots of times we end up using this chute for doctoring on animals, or if we have to help a cow have a calf. This is where we do it. As we lead her up, she's going to walk up and put her head through. And then through the natural motion, she's going to lock herself in place. So how many animals are there on the ranch? This question kind of ties in with the last one, but you know what? I don't mind. I may not give the exact number of cows that are here or the exact number of calves, but I can say that there are over 160 breeding cows. There are 4 bulls, a couple horses, a mess of chickens and ducks, 7 pigs, 2 peacocks, along with more barn cats than you can shake a stick at. It's sometimes a lot to keep track of. So we've got her locked in the head chute. She's calmed down a little bit, and now we can get a good look at her and see if we can figure out what is going on. A little bit of history on her. This is number 92. She was born right here on the ranch on April 15th, 2010, making her 7 years old and 7 months, actually. Her daddy was a big red Angus bull that we had here at the time, number 542. We called him Little Red. she's had 6 calves for us. She is pregnant again, and her calves average about 72 pounds at birth. According to my records, she's never had any health issues. She's had her shots regularly, and she's never been aggressive towards people. So now that we have her in here, let's take a look at her. This is the other end. And as you can tell from when we were bringing her in, she was limping on her back right foot. And as we get a chance to look a little bit closer at it, it actually looks more like a hip issue than a foot issue. We have some medications that we're going to give her for it in just a few minutes, but first, the next question, can I come work as a ranch hand? This one, we get a lot. And not only through comments and by email. We've had people show up at the ranch. People that aren't just local, people from a long ways away. Now, we've had some folks come out that watch the channel and happen to be coming through. They'll drop us an email and they'll come and say hi. In fact, we had a great couple and their family come out from New York and hang out with Erin and I for a few hours. That was a lot of fun. But just finding us is apparently not that hard to do. In fact, I think people in town are happy to send people our way. So if you just show up looking for a job, you're going to be disappointed. Plus, it freaks Erin out and honestly scares her a little bit. So stick to sending emails. I'll answer you this way. During the summer, I usually hire a high school kid to help me out a couple days a week. And that's if the ranch has the money to do it. It helps me out and it helps them out by letting them learn some of the skills that I honestly feel that you can't learn anywhere but on a ranch or a farm. I can't afford to pay somebody enough to move them here, and I surely don't want you to pack up your wife and 4 kids and move here based on a few days of work a week. I'm flattered that people want to help, I really am, but there are legal issues like insurance and workman's comp to deal with, plus you probably wouldn't like working with me anyway. Having a boss that doesn't know what he's doing half the time probably isn't that much fun. All right, back to number 92 here. Her hip is pretty inflamed, so we're going to give her some medication to manage the swelling. The first one is called Banamine. We're going to give her an injection of that as well, there it is, as well as an injection of Exceed, a pretty potent antibiotic to combat any infection or anything else that might arise coming up.
The Banamine is administered IM. That means intermuscular. The Exceed will actually go subcutaneously in her neck, just below the skin.
So one question that we get a lot is, why do you do this? Now, that question comes from all over the board, from the young to the old, the vegan to the diehard meat eater. And I think the question means different things coming from different people. The vegan could be saying that it's cruel and maybe we shouldn't be doing it. The young might think it's too much work and there are better ways to make money, which, trust me, I know. I went from being a radio DJ and a radio programmer making really good money to this, so I know how that works. And maybe the older generations, they might just want to see better for us younger kids. So when someone asks, why do I do this? I can tell them this one thing, a promise. Like I said earlier, when we came to the ranch, Erin's stepdad started getting sick. And I worked with him for a few years before he passed away. By the way, the only other person that knows this story is Erin, so I'm going to let you in as well. Gilbert passed away around noon on a Sunday in a hospital in Casper. That morning, we knew he was going, and I sat alone with him in his room from about 4 a.m. till about 7 that morning. I tried, well, we all tried to make sure that someone was with him at all times, and everyone else was getting a little bit of rest. So Gilbert was in and out of it. He couldn't talk, but his eyes would open and he'd look at you, and I held his hand the whole time because I knew that Gilbert, even the old hard rancher that he was was scared to die. As I held his hand, I talked to him, and I promised him that no matter what, I would try my hardest to make sure that this ranch would be around for years and years, for our kids and their kids, and that I promised him that I wouldn't fail him, and I would do anything that I could to make sure that the ranch was safe. The ranch meant more to Gilbert than anything. The cows, the life, just being here would make his eyes light up. So I promised, and I meant it. I also remember him squeezing my hand. I mean, tight, when I made that promise. In fact, it was so tight that I was a little scared that he might actually hurt me, or hurt himself. So, a few hours later, he died, with his family praying over him. For me, a moment like that means more than any promise I ever made in my whole life. So that's why I do this. And that's why I try to do it every day better than the last. Because I made a promise to a dying man who trusted us with his most prized possession, the ranch. And this cow, who we're all done with, and we're going to put her out in a corral for a few weeks. Keep an eye on her and hope that she gets better with some rest. She may need another shot of Banamine for any swelling or inflammation, and if she does, you know what, she'll get it. Everyone deserves the best care, especially a cow that's our livelihood. Help us form our community and help us spread a message that hard work is its own reward and you won't regret it. Like us on Facebook, share, and a special thanks to those who support us on Patreon, where you can show your support for what we're doing for as little as $1. I'll see you on Tuesday for our project list, and we have a live stream scheduled for Thursday night. Lots coming up, and we hope that you can be there for all of it. Have a great week, and thanks for joining us in our Wyoming Life.